Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna here. Basically, we are discussing one of the topic that is city creation. In this, basically, we are taking the example. Previously, we were taking the example of Microsoft, but that actually I think taken too much. Basically, I think Microsoft Group also might be connected with me. That type of basically data I have taken. If Microsoft Group basically might be seeing this basically, then basically they also might be thinking that basically yeah, we actually also never thought this basically this way basically. कि actually we are doing this basically. But that is basically going to benefit to be Microsoft only basically. Not only Microsoft but entire software industry basically. So this was the example. I had taken actually I think 20 to 25 videos for this. Now basically we are seeing the example of one Apple basically. Not only Apple basically, any items basically in this world basically. I will tell you basically how the testing is also basically doing by the set of groups basically. How they test also. It's very dangerous basically. It's very dangerous basically. So one of the person told that how basically you can create the apple basically. Then he told that apple means what basically. Then basically one person told that apple means natural item. Then basically chemical item, then software apple. So these are basically the types basically. These are the types basically. Where basically the apple are basically created. So one of the person told that why this basically this type of apple basically creation started. Then one of the person told that basically natural resources basically which was this actually we have already taken. Then also I thought basically I should take it. Natural item basically which is getting produced from the land basically, that is basically getting over. And if it is getting produced, then basically it is generating the cancer disease. Then basically it's a chemical. Why basically the natural resources are getting over? Chemical data is there basically, and the software data basically are also there basically, who are giving the apple contribution basically. So like this basically the here basically I have taken the example of apple basically. In this basically one of the person told that one apple equal to what actually this all includes basically. Then he told that any types of disease antibiotic, total number of sands basically it are there, all types of waters basically are there. Means all type of water basically. For example, water contains 100 types of chemicals. Assume 100 types of. So just imagine basically the groups who basically are controlling the water basically after the corona, they might be sleeping or not basically. That is also basically the question basically, because all types of water means you can just imagine, assume that basically water basically contains after corona basically. Before corona basically everything was updated basically. So he told that after corona basically the water type, assume that basically 100 types of water basically are there. So that 100 types of water basically you have to include in this water apple basically. Apple basically. That's why basically lots of people say that still basically the software company is not open. So one of the person told that the who is the human resource of the India basically, who is basically telling that basically don't open the company basically. That means he know everything basically. The group basically who is basically he might be he actually saving the resources basically, because it might possible that if you are doing the programming or basically you are doing the project management, preparing the project management plan, or you are doing something basically, that time basically it might possible that heart attack, brain tumor, anything basically can possible. Reason basically the water basically you are drinking basically, and that time basically you eaten the apple. Assume that basically. Just see how dangerous thing is basically, that's why basically I have calculated this basically. That is, lots of people say that why you calculate this here basically, are you mad basically? Few people will tell this also basically. That is कहाँ गया? That calculation, where is that calculation? It was in just Microsoft only. Here basically. Here was the calculation. इसके बाद after this, see basically this calculation you can see. Nuclear energy contains all human needs. That's why basically I have not written here nuclear plant, not written the human needs basically. So I will take one example. Assume that basically he has eaten the apple basically. That time basically he drank the water also basically. So just see the data of software industry basically, that is this group basically, how tough basically task nowadays basically it's going to be happen. That's why basically few people say that basically in World Bank basically few statistic people also is required basically, who basically are good in statistic, who is good in the mathematics, who is good in the management side basically. So then one of the person told that, yeah, basically you have so much of knowledge, so much of good knowledge basically, then also basically you are not getting the job basically. Then he told that yes, yeah, basically because IT industry, lots of people say that it's controlled by the USA basically. So in next video, in few video basically we are going to see that also basically, why America basically is not helping basically. Lots of people say that itna knowledge hai Sunil, you have so much of knowledge, then also basically this group basically are not giving job. That means it's some personal enemy basically with you basically. So all types of water, assume that basically 100 types of chemical basically are added. 100 types of chemicals are added. So 100 types of chemical also must be included in this basically. So when you create the apple basically, that time this data also basically must contain, and that also with star basically. Star means all types of antibiotic multiply by total number of sands multiply by all types of waters, like this basically. So it's very dangerous basically, very complicated also basically. Lots of people say that yes, here basically we have done this basically, but this basically need to check basically whether it's because few data basically might not be added also, because lots of people say that if we add everything basically in apple basically, then basically it will be very complicated basically. Then few people say that basically we have added in few things in added in apple basically, but few things basically we have not added in apple, that we have added in grapes. So few people basically say that this is basically correct way, or basically it's going to create problem in future basically. So one of the person asked the question basically, which way is correct basically? Just now basically which I told that way, or basically the another way. That is, few things are added in apple, few things are basically added in grapes basically. Because if you are not adding this all antibiotics in apple basically, then what are the things going to happen? One of the person asked the question basically. That was basically the satellite group basically, because he knows everything basically. So he told that basically if you are not adding all types of disease basically in that particular all types of data basically that basically, then basically it's going to create problems. Then he told that yes, basically you are correct basically. You are basically correct. It's going to create problems. Now in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this.